Why face unspeakable horrors on your own when you can do so with a friend? As they so often say, a poop in the pants is better when shared. Multiplayer gaming has changed the horror playing field quite a bit, giving us scaredy cats someone to project our fears onto so we're not alone in our anxieties with horror multiplayer games. Like anything though, finding a good multiplayer horror game isn't a matter of blindly choosing. There's a lot out there that you will want to avoid though. If you're someone that enjoys tackling horror and facing your fears in a cooperative or even competitive environment, check out this showcase of the best multiplayer horror games. These games excel at mingling terrifying scenarios with the staples of multiplayer video gaming. Ultimately, that just means someone will hear me screaming as a zombie gnaws at my face, but at least I didn't die alone. Number 10. F.E.A.R 3. The original F.E.A.R set up the horrifying presence of Alma. F.E.A.R 2 Project Origins expanded upon it by diving deeper into her origins. F.E.A.R 3 decided it was time to let players tackle the horrors together and tacked on a much needed co-op experience. Alma returns again in F.E.A.R 3 just as vengeful and horrifying as before. This time though, players don't have to face her alone. Together, two operatives can plough through the paranormal horrors of F.E.A.R while providing each other the emotional support for when things get really terrifying. F.E.A.R 3 also featured additional multiplayer modes where 4 players could team up or battle one another amidst the game's supernatural horrors. For its time, it was a solid multiplayer experience. Tack on the horror elements carried over from the main game, and you have a game that satiates players looking for horror and ample jump scares. Number 9. Killing Floor 2. If it's pure balls to the wall adrenaline you're looking for, Killing Floor 2 will deliver. The moment you enter the arena, you're forced to face off against hordes upon hordes of terrifying creatures and creations. Fire into a crowd of Zeds and watch with delight as blood and limbs splatter everywhere. You can tackle Killing Floor 2 alone, but it's not the best way to play. Instead, team up with 5 other players to cut through wave after wave of monstrosities, all of which want to rip you limb from limb. Different weapons deliver a multitude of satisfying resolutions to the clawed sacks of flesh running towards you. To change things up a bit, Killing Floor 2 also features a versus survival game mode where 12 players are split into teams of 6. One retains the role of the human while the other team takes over as different Zeds. It's the best kind of chaotic mess as both teams clash in one of the best horror multiplayer games to boot, spreading gore across multiple stages. Number 8. Call of Duty Black Ops 3 Zombies! Before you get all indignant and cry foul, I'm talking about the Zombies mode. This undead multiplayer shooter may have been an odd concept when it was first revealed with World at War, but by Black Ops 3, it's commonplace. The 4-player Zombies mode of Black Ops 3 is as nerve-wracking as any other, but it benefits from the Zombie Chronicles DLC. The pack of 8 remastered maps brings back memories of old iterations of the Zombies mode pulled right out of World of War, Black Ops and Black Ops 2. Each map sports a shiny new HD appearance that begs to be splattered in blood. While zombies may not be considered scary by many, the undead designs are gruesome and visceral. Everything one needs from a horror shooter. Even when played with others, the onslaught of the undead is relentless, making you feel like a horror movie victim no matter how much firepower you're packing. Number 7. Resident Evil Outbreak. The Resident Evil series has always had a complex relationship with multiplayer games. Resident Evil Outbreak was the first to take the series' staple gameplay and tack on a co-op experience and make it a multiplayer horror. Through a fully fledged story, players team up to tackle the Umbrella Corporation's worst creations through new environments in Raccoon City. The tank-like mechanics of the original trilogy are the star of Outbreak's gameplay, which would make it hard to enjoy today if the game wasn't already obsolete and a hassle to emulate. The multiplayer ran off of the PlayStation 2's network adapter, a sturdy piece of hardware that delivered a connection that would drive the youth of today insane. Underneath its frustrations, however, was a solid Resident Evil game that retained the personality of the core series that preceded it. It also let players turn into zombies after becoming infected, so it at least had that going for it. Now make another one, Capcom, do it! It would be better now because broadband exists! Number 6. Dying Light. It was difficult for Dying Light to release in a post-Dead Island world and not be compared to the slower-paced zombie romp. While some may have preferred the latter, there is one thing Dying Light had over it: a robust multiplayer. Sure, Dead Island had a simple co-op mode, but Dying Light upped the ante with a solid competitive mode instead. Along with a 4-player co-op option, Dying Light also introduced Be the Zombie, a tense asymmetrical mode where one player does exactly as the title suggests, except they don't control a slow-moving shambler. No, that would be too easy. The player controlling the zombie steps into the grotesque form of the Night Hunter. In Be the Zombie, the Night Hunter invades the other players' games and wreaks havoc as the tentacled fiend. Human players must track down nests before the hunter can demolish the team with an array of attacks and abilities. Playing as either has its perks, but if you want a fright, stick to the human role and wait for someone to infiltrate your game as the speedy hunter. Okay, right then, let us just tick off the monthly Dying Light reference on the calendar. 5. Hunt. Showdown. It's bad enough that you're going up against ghastly beings to add to your collection of trophies. Having to do so while also keeping an eye out for rival hunters amps up the challenge, leaving you paranoid about everyone that enters your field of view. As a hunter looking for the next big score, you'll set out into the spooky bayou equipped with the latest in monster hunting technology. Throw fists or fire off explosive bullets to become the most feared hunter in Louisiana. Go it alone for the thrill of the hunt, but don't expect it to be easy. The cretins stalking the swamps of Louisiana are deadly and ruthless, possibly as much as your opposing hunters. Hunt Showdown gives you the chance to hunt alone or with a group, but don't expect everyone to play along nicely. At the end of the day, it's all about scoring bounties and progressing your hunter to become among the very best. Easier said than done though, thanks to permadeath. That is the real horror of this game. 4. Dead by Daylight. Trapped in a purgatory-like state and hunted by a merciless killer, survivors in Dead by Daylight can do little else but run away in this multiplayer horror. To escape their personal hell, they have to start up generators that control an exit. In their way, of course, is one of many serial killers and paranormal threats, armed to the teeth with unique abilities and weapons. Dead by Daylight allows players to choose which side to play, while the killer offers more varied and entertaining gameplay, with characters like Michael Myers, Ghostface, Leatherface, Demogorgon and Freddy Krueger joining the ranks with original monstrosities. Escaping the awful scenario as a survivor can be surprisingly fun. Different tools and abilities make surviving a little easier, but the relentless killer is always out there looking to serve you up to the entity that oversees the realms of the trial grounds that both parties are trapped within. Also, expect a load of teabagging. Even serial killers need to place their balls on someone's forehead sometimes. Number 3. No More Room in Hell. Developed off of the Half-Life 2 engine, No More Room in Hell is a love letter to George Romero's Dead film series. As survivors in a world of undead horrors, players must battle through waves of rotting corpses. You can work together with up to 8 players to battle through wave after wave of undead, but be wary. It only takes one bite to join the ranks of the infected. Once bitten, it's up to you to decide whether you want to tell your teammates or keep it to yourself in hopes that a cure lies along your path. The game's survival mode sees you utilising resources to build up your shelter long enough to be extracted to a safe zone. Like any good zombie movie, there's no keeping the undead out, so you will need to keep a watchful eye on your fortifications and barricades to ensure nothing unwanted slips by. No More Room in Hell is a completely free experience that has every right to look down on some of the more recent big-budget zombie titles. There's a second game on the way too that also looks delicious. Number 2. The Forest. At the core of the survival genre is the need to stay alive. This includes gathering wood for fires, hunting food, finding clean sources of water, and building structures to help keep you safe from the elements. Sometimes there's a dinosaur that will ransack your comfortable abode or another player looking to pilfer your dead body. The forest doesn't stray too far from the core mechanics, though you'll wish it were only a towering tyrannosaur you'd have to run from. After crash landing on a forested peninsula, Eric LeBlanc witnesses his son being taken by a mysterious man. Hell-bent on rescuing his kin, Eric sets out across the forest to locate where he may have been taken. It's not too long before he finds that the mysterious land is inhabited by tribes of mutant cannibals, and all they care to do is make his life hell and turn him into their next meal. The Forest adds a heavy dose of horror to the multiplayer survival genre, replacing the typical PvP gameplay with a co-op or solo experience. To survive nightfall, players will have to work together to build a sturdy base, protected by makeshift defences and the player's own proficiency with their weapon of choice. During the day, scattered cannibals will threaten to get in your way, but it's at night that entire hordes stomp through the forest to turn you into a snack. I mean, I guess it's karma for all those turtles that I killed. What, look, let's be honest, they do make amazing sleds though. And at number 1, Left 4 Dead 2. Any player that's grown up with games like Resident Evil has become used to slow, lumbering zombies. For them, the original Left 4 Dead was a shocker as hordes of fast-moving undead swarmed across the map. Left 4 Dead 2 simply improved upon that formula, throwing more undead at the player across a 4-act story set in the southern United States. The frantic first-person combat of the first game returns, but now players have more special zombies to be mindful of. The game's AI director controls how the enemies spawn, and no 2 levels are the same. Left 4 Dead 2's AI Director 2.0 works even harder to make levels more difficult by occasionally altering the level layout. Left 4 Dead 2 is primarily a co-op experience, but an online competitive mode pits players in the role of special infected as other players attempt to breeze through each level. Left 4 Dead 2 may not have much variety in terms of gameplay, but the simplicity of its first-person shooter elements is part of the appeal. It's all about getting from one end of the map to the other without being overrun by the undead. Nothing more, nothing less. And when it comes to multiplayer horror, that's just perfect. So perfect, in fact, that Valve forgot how to count to 3. And there you have it, folks. That is our list of the best multiplayer horror games. As ever, did you agree? Did you disagree? Please let us know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the content that you've seen today, please do consider hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to tap that notification bell so you don't miss all the lovely videos on the Cultured Vultures YouTube channel. Please do also consider following the various social media on screens now, and checking out the Cultured Vultures website for even more news, lists and articles, more than you can shake a bloody stick at. We of course hope to see you in the next video, but until then, caw-caw.